So what is going on, guys? I'm Black Ops Amazing. Welcome back to another video on the channel where I just saw this on Twitter and it made me want to make a video about it because it's something that I've noticed. It's something that I think has been spoken about a little bit within the COD community and how these games have gone over the past few years, but it's not something that's been looked at too deeply, and it is a big thing because it's one of the things that differentiates each COD developer. Treyarch, what's different between their game compared to Sledgehammer's, compared to Infinity Ward's. And I saw someone post this image of a Black Ops Cold War map and they said, of course being sarcastic, Black Ops Cold War is an ugly COD, showing that this map clearly isn't ugly. We've seen these comparisons of Black Ops Cold War compared to Black Ops 1, Black Ops 2, Black Ops 3. With each and every new game that comes out, you're going to get comparisons to older ones, what's different, what's the same, what's better and what's worse. But something I've noticed, especially making zombies videos, however this does translate to the multiplayer as well, is, and this isn't just specific to Treyarch, but I'm just going to use them in this instance, I think, just in my opinion, their latest products, Black Ops Cold War, the multiplayer and zombies, Vanguard when it comes to just zombies. As time has gone on, one thing that I think Treyarch used to really stand out at was the uniqueness in their maps, whether it be the colour, the style, how they were more unrealistic in a way, or more arcadey is a good way to word it. The point is, what I think was different between Infinity Ward and Sledgehammer compared to Treyarch was Treyarch used to have their own style. I would say the Black Ops series compared to the Modern Warfare series or any game that Sledgehammer have done, be it World War II or Advanced Warfare or Vanguard when it comes to the campaign and multiplayer, Treyarch's style of game is more arcadey compared to what those are. But that wasn't always the case because COD as a whole used to be described as an arcade style shooter. Compared to Battlefield, everyone would say this is a realistic type of shooter, whereas COD is more an arcade shooter. But I think now if we look at the newer games, Modern Warfare 2, Black Ops Cold War, Vanguard if you want to throw that in there, Modern Warfare 2019, these games have gone more towards the Battlefield side of being realistic shooters. COD doesn't feel or have that style of being an arcade shooter anymore. Maybe still it's not quite as realistic in quotation marks as Battlefield or many other first-person shooters, but it's definitely not as arcadey or cartoony as it used to be, and the king of that was Treyarch. Their style was unrealistic, out there type of games. That was how I would describe BO1, 2, 3 and 4, but I think in Cold War that kind of changed. But it's not necessarily their fault. Just going back to that Twitter thread, but when Cold War came out, as this person said, there were a lot of people saying, well, this is an ugly Call of Duty compared to what Treyarch usually release. Black Ops Cold War's maps aren't as vibrant as Treyarch's maps usually are. They're more realistic as what Treyarch's maps usually are. They're not as fun, they're not as unique. Somebody said Cold War did look pretty mediocre, especially compared to Black Ops CODs, having washed out colours when it comes to most maps like brown, yellow and such. In this instance, the map that you show here is just one situation where it doesn't. Somebody else said, I hate how realistic Call of Duty is becoming. It's an arcade simulator, not a military sim. And I will say, without having gone back and replayed it recently, but of course I've completed the campaign, I've played multiplayer, there is a difference between this and the older multiplayer maps, where I just don't think, if I had to choose one word, Black Ops Cold War's maps are as fun. And I think this also shows in the fact that a lot of the maps that we had in Black Ops Cold War for MP were remasters. Looking at all of the Cold War maps, the ones that we had on disc or as DLC that weren't remasters, actually were pretty, just in my opinion, dull. Armada, Cartel, Checkmate, Crossroads, Garrison, Miami is a unique one, Moscow, Satellite, and others. But if you look at the more colourful maps that were in Cold War, they, for the most part, were all remasters. Jungle, Rush, Hijacked, Drive-In, Zoo are all pretty fun maps, but all remasters. And then if we go back and look at older CODs, so Black Ops 1, this game in my opinion had the second best DLC of any Call of Duty when it came to multiplayer maps. The map packs were so good. I actually don't think Black Ops 1 had the most vibrant, colourful maps, but one thing that they definitely were unique and fun. Nuketown, Berlin Wall was such a fun map. Firing Range, Launch, Cracked I don't think was brilliant, Havana was okay, but then Jungle, Summit, Silo, Radiation, Hotel was unique especially at the time with the elevators, Zoo, Hazard, Stadium, Hangar 18, Driver, Kowloon, Villa, Array, some iconic maps because they were fun. Black Ops 2 in my opinion had the best DLC ever when it came to MP maps. Nuketown 2025, Turbine, Standoff, Slums, Raid, Plaza, Meltdown, Hijacked, Express, Cargo. Look at maps like Magma, Rush, Encore, Cove, studio, and there's so much more grind. Some not only unique, fun, but also very colourful, unrealistic arcade type maps. And then for Black Ops 3, even though it was a game I didn't play a whole lot for the multiplayer, just because I wasn't keen on the boost jumping, but the maps were good and unique. Rapture, Micro, Citadel, look how fun these maps are. Splash, Aquarium, and then we come to Black Ops Cold War just because this is Treyarch's latest game, and the multiplayer maps are dull in comparison to what they used to release. Armada, Cartel, Checkmate, Crossroads, Garrison, like I said at the beginning, Miami really is the only exception when it comes to the base maps. All of the fun, colourful ones for the most part are remasters. So for the multiplayer portion of the game, Black Ops Cold War lost its uniqueness, it lost its colour. The zombies is exactly the same. You compare Cold War's maps, whether you think they're bad or not, when it comes to the uniqueness and the colour of them, well, there's no comparison between any BO2 map, any BO3 map, even Black Ops 4's, especially looking at the Chaos ones. But I don't necessarily think this is Treyarch's fault. However, it may be a signal of something going into the future. This might be a good idea of what we can expect, and I say this because Black Ops Cold War, we know originally wasn't Treyarch's game. This was a Sledgehammer game. It was in development by them, I think, for about a year, but there ended up being some complications or differences between Sledgehammer and Raven, who were working on Cold War, and so Treyarch had to step in and finish it off. It ended up being a Treyarch product, but it wasn't originally their game, and you can tell because Black Ops Cold War feels nothing like what Black Ops 1, 2, 3, and 4 did. Those games all felt like an arcade shooter, but Black Ops Cold War felt more realistic, and maybe the reason for that was because it was a Sledgehammer game. The base of it was Sledgehammer's. It was just finished off by Treyarch. However, the base of a game is arguably the most important because those are the foundations. Those are what you've got to work off. So if Sledgehammer made what Treyarch had to work off in Black Ops Cold War, then that explains why it doesn't really feel like a Treyarch game, why it doesn't feel as arcadey. But sadly, that might be something that we never actually see from Treyarch again, because from what we've been told, every Call of Duty from this point that releases will be built upon Call of Duty 2.0, the same engine that we see used in Modern Warfare 2. We already know Infinity Ward's games feel drastically different to Treyarch's. The Modern Warfare series they want and is supposed to feel more realistic, but if all of Treyarch's games from this point on are being built off that same realistic feeling engine, one that I think is more dull, yes, you can still add colour into your game, but one thing that was so good about Treyarch's past ones was the arcade feel. That, combined with colour in their maps, gave off that more unrealistic feeling that Treyarch's games had. If all of their games are going to be built off COD 2.0 from now on, a more refined, realistic looking engine, then that arcade style shooter that made the Black Ops series so unique probably just isn't going to be there anymore. And every Treyarch game from this point on is going to feel more like Black Ops Cold War than BO1, 2, 3 or 4. That arcade style that Treyarch used to have in their games that made them unique, and that worked so well. For me, that was one of the reasons what made Zombies so good. An arcade style definitely fits a Zombies mode more than what realism does in my opinion, because Zombies themselves aren't realistic, so having more arcade-ish maps I think fits the Zombies theme, compared to if you look at more realistic zombies such as World War II or Vanguard zombies. Just for me, a more realistic Zombies game isn't as fun. So if that feeling of Treyarch's games from BO1 to BO4 is no longer going to be possible anymore, then will the feeling of what made Treyarch's games unique and what made them so different return? Or is every Call of Duty from this point on just gonna feel different? That was one thing I always loved about COD, and the fact that they had 2 or 3 different developers was that each and every developer's game felt different. But since Cold War, I think each and every game, Cold War was Treyarch's, Vanguard was Sledgehammer's, and Modern Warfare 2 is Infinity Ward's, I think these games feel quite similar compared to Black Ops 1 felt different to Modern Warfare 2. Modern Warfare 2 felt different to Advanced Warfare, or maybe MW3 would be a better comparison since they're closer together. Each developer's game felt different, whereas now they're starting to feel more similar. And that's something that I kind of miss. I like the feeling of Treyarch's games. I think that's a big reason why Zombies was so good, because it then made each and every map unique. There was a bigger difference in style between each map compared to Cold War or Vanguard. Isn't the developer's fault necessarily. The decision for COD 2.0 from here is more an Activision decision. And whilst I am still excited for Treyarch's next game, at the same time, knowing this, there's just something in me that's also saying, I hope that what I've just said isn't true. I hope that this next game is going to be unique is going to be different than any of the others, and isn't more of the same as what we got in Cold War or Vanguard in terms of feeling. Of course, it's going to be a lot different in terms of content. They've had more time, that's great, but I just hope the feeling of it isn't the same, because BO1 was different to BO2, BO2 felt different to BO3, BO3 felt different to Black Ops 4, but there wasn't as big a gap. I just hope that Treyarch's next game in 2024 feels different to Cold War. There's just something in me knowing this just has this funny feeling that it's going to feel pretty similar. So there we go. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. As always, hopefully if you enjoyed the video today, if you have, drop a like rating. Make sure you are subscribed to stay up to date with the latest content on the channel. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Until then, goodbye.